We've got a cool two-part video, and part one is where I share my entire experience back in November 2025 as we jumped in the truck and drove down to Orlando, Florida for our first experience at DEMA. I'm going to share with you the trip, my thoughts, my opinions, the whole experience, and answer the question, would I go back? I hope you enjoy the video. Made it across the U.S. border. Now we're driving through New York State. All right, at this point, I am somewhere in the back roads of Harrisburg. It's a long trip. First time solo. A lot of planning and prep. But you know you're going to meet great people. And if you're lucky, hang out with a legend. This is my road to DEMA. We just went from dad mode back to dive mode. We had an amazing afternoon with our little lady. But now it's time to get into dive mode. November 8th, 4:45 p.m. It's Ottawa, and now it's time to drive to Jacksonville. 19 hours. Let's go. Seven o'clock at night, November 8th. We made it across the U.S. border. Now we're driving through New York State, ready to tackle those Pennsylvania hills. 10:40 p.m. at night, we are making our way through the hills of Pennsylvania. This is the least favorite portion of the trip for me. We are not lost because we've got Google Maps, but we took a wrong turn. We're somewhere in Harrisburg, trying to get back east. It's almost 1 a.m. in the morning, and now I've lost about 20 minutes at least in terms of the schedule. Let's hope this works out. I am somewhere in the back roads of Harrisburg on a highway trying to route me back to the 81. I was supposed to go the other way, but there was a detour, and now it's basically 1:20 a.m. in the morning, and at this point I have complete trust in Google Maps. I am literally following it blindly. Google Maps, I got all the trust in you now. We're back on track, heading over to I-95. Thank you, Google Maps. We made it into Virginia. We got I-95 south. It's a straight shot from here. It's 3 a.m. in the morning, and it's time for some rest. Now this is my favorite time of the morning, where the sky is just starting to get light and you know that the sun is coming. Welcome to North Carolina. 7:30 a.m., 18 degrees C outside. It's only gonna get better. It's 8 a.m. We're somewhere in the middle of North Carolina. It's 20 degrees outside, which means two things. The jeans go in the back and the shorts come on, and the shoes hit the back and the sandals come on. November 9th, 2 p.m., and it has hit 30 degrees as we approach the Florida border. Hour 23 minutes to go before we hit the hotel. This is when you escape cold country to come to cave country. I might have to rethink my strategy next season. All right, now that we made it to Jacksonville, let's talk about a few things on the trip down. Number one, the rest stops and the rest areas on I-81 and I-95 in the U.S. are awesome. Plenty of people are always parked there. They're always well lit. There's tons of restroom type stuff, and you just feel safe in case you need to take a bit of a rest. Number two, the Pennsylvania hills always deliver. And on this particular night, it's pouring down, it's midnight, and there's a spot that I should have stayed left, and I went right. And in the matter of minutes, I am driving downtown Harrisburg.
And at midnight, there was no other cars on the street. And Google is having a hard time rerouting because it tried to take me to a road that was actually closed. I ended up having to pull over into a parking lot and give it some time to reroute. And finally, it came up with the right way through some backcountry roads to get me back over to I-95. So with that in hand, I pulled out, and right after the first traffic light, right in behind me is a police cruiser. Now, think about this. It's essentially 1 a.m. in the morning. There are no other cars on the street. Black truck, tinted windows, with a license plate that says 613 Dive. I mean, in their mind, they must have been thinking this has to be sketchy. So a little stressful for about 7 or 8 minutes, but I got to the edge of town. They turned around, and about 10 minutes later, I was on the I-95. But Pennsylvania Hills, I tell you, there's always something. And this particular night, Pennsylvania Hills 1, Diver Dave 0. We are done with Jacksonville, and now it's time to head to Orlando to register for DEMA. Jacksonville to Orlando, 2 hours. The sun is shining. Life ain't bad. Pretty easy drive. Got to the area, decided to check into the hotel. I was staying at the Rosen, but I didn't realize there's like 82 different types of Rosens. I was at the Rosen Inn, but there's 2 Rosen Inns. But then there's a Rosa Plaza and also a Rosen Center. So once I had that sorted out, I got checked in. I figured it'd probably be a good time, walk over to the show and get my badge pickup so I could be ready for tomorrow's opening. Pretty comical that the first person I ran into on the road while I was waiting for the crosswalk to open up was a fellow buddy diver from Brockville. So shout out to Bob. That was actually pretty comical. Registration for DEMA just now was extremely simple, very quick. Looks like I beat the lines. So I'm really looking forward to the next 2 days. I've heard good and bad things about DEMA from different people. This is going to be my first time, and so I'm looking forward to making my own opinion. Stay tuned. All right, it's 7 p.m. We're about to head over to the Padi Social, and it's weird, man. The only folks I've met so far today are Canadians. Strange. And I've heard, because it's free drinks, I have heard it in the past that, people were like, hey, I'm going to get my membership dues back in these drinks tonight. And just from observing the crowd, because it was packed, I would definitely say that that was probably pretty true for most in there. Very comical to see a community bottle of Fireball being passed around between a couple of certain groups. So, but if you know me, I'm not a big crowd kind of person. And so I probably stayed there for maybe a half hour and decided to bail. It was going to be a long day tomorrow walking through the show. I was still tired from all the travel, so called it an early night and headed on back to the hotel. It's Tuesday, November 11th, 6:54 a.m. I'm in my hotel room in Orlando, and I've got coffee. And guess what? It's freaking cold here in Orlando. It's like 37 degrees out right now. But today is going to be a fun day. It's day 1 of the expo, and I'm looking forward to touring the floor, meeting the vendors, seeing all the different travel trip options, and just sort of taking in the DEMA experience. I got a choice to make. I'm in shorts and a t-shirt. It's a bit of a cold walk, but that's a whole lot better than roasting once I get inside. Orlando is just like Vegas. Everything looks close until you start walking. And then you realize this shit is super far, and I'm still walking. And yep, still walking. A plan. We had a plan. The plan was we roll in, we take our time, we go through the aisles and the rows, we figure out the vendors, and we come up with a plan for the afternoon so that we could really focus and dial in our search. We didn't really know what we were searching for, but that was the plan. The problem is that plan went to shit really quickly. And the reason is, to me, DEMA just felt really small. The entire floor show space just felt small. And to make things worse, that small it felt like half of it was consumed by travel vendors. And while I thought originally I was going to be really interested in talking to a lot of travel vendors, after a few discussions, it became pretty obvious that I was not. There was no way I was going to be able to make a decision based on those experiences. And it all felt very kind of salesy. So it got to the point where, I would actually kind of avoid going down those aisles because you just felt like you were going to get cold called one after the other. So I did sort of compile my list of vendors that I wanted to see. And don't get me wrong, there was a ton of cool vendors to go and see. And we'll talk about that next. And we'll also talk about, sadly, and it pains me to say it, the Big Blue fail. Before we go down the Big Blue path, I just want to make it clear that I love Big Blue products. As you can see, I have the technical lights, the helmet lights and recreational lights, and of course my backup technical lights. And on the wall, I still have the Big Blue cave helmet, which is one of the reasons why I was going to see the Big Blue booth. Part 2 of this trip was I was going to do some cave diving with Joerg, the Beast Hess, and I was hoping to buy the Big Blue insert for the helmet so I could mount my GoPro on the helmet. And so I thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to be at DEMA. I might as well hold off, and I'll go to the booth, and hopefully they have the part there. So I make my way over to the booth, and they have a very nice booth. It's a very nice display of all of their products. I managed to chat with someone who was very nice, and they were obviously very happy to hear that I had a ton of Big Blue product and sharing my experiences with them. And I thought, hey, what I could really use, and I don't know if you have it here, but I need that GoPro insert for the helmet. And he said, oh, let me take a look. So he comes back in a box, and of course he has the piece in a little plastic bag in his hand. And I'm like, oh, perfect. I said, how much is it? He goes, I think it's $50 or $60. I said, sign me up, I'll take it. And he goes, oh, unfortunately, I cannot actually sell it to you today. I said, what do you mean you can't sell it to me today? And he goes, well, we have to actually wait until Friday before we can actually sell it to you. And I said, well, that's not going to work for me. I'm actually leaving Thursday morning to go cave diving, which is why I need that piece. And he goes, well, let me have a quick chat with my manager. So he goes off, and I could really tell that conversation was going downhill real quick. And he comes back and he says, listen, I'm sorry, but if you wanted to, you could probably order it online. I said, well, if I do that, I'm not going to get it in time. I was just hoping to get it here, and you actually have it right in your hand, and I'm willing to buy it. And he goes, there's just not anything we can do until Friday. So this is not like a Big Blue hate speech, but I will say, based on that experience, I was a little bit sort of disappointed with their customer service that day. Now, this is a very rare sight. I hardly ever wear caps, and I think it's pretty obvious as to why. But I'm kind of wearing it in a little bit of a protest, because the one brand that I've gone all in on over the last 3 years is Divesoft and the Liberty CCR products. Liberty Back Mount CCR, Liberty Sidemount CCR, instructor training, tons of hours and practice time, cave training, you name it. I'm all in. I even wore the shirt to DEMA. And yet when I got there, the one brand that I'm all in on is not there. And so the one question I have to Divesoft or Divesoft US is why? Probably the coolest experience of day one for me at DEMA was I stumbled across the booth, which was kind of in the back edge of the show, and it was a booth of what I would say old-timer divers. And they had a bunch of really cool old antique sort of diving stuff there. And one of them, of course, would have been what I call that minion helmet, where it kind of sits over your shoulder and is force fed by a hand pump from the surface, so that they could do some exploring. So that really sort of caught my interest. Sadly, they had it for sale. It was for $750, and I would have loved to have bought it and sort of put it here for the podcast. They weren't really willing to negotiate on the price. And I was like, you know what? For $750, it's probably a little bit too steep in terms of the budget. But what I did really appreciate is I got to sit and talk with the gentleman who was an old-time diver from way back in those days, and he would actually dive that helmet. And man, he had some really cool stories and just some great history that he shared. And overall, it was just really cool experience to sit down with someone who had been diving from that industry. I've done a bit of research from that time, and it's really interesting to see how they would have handled and how they dove things back then. And so for me to get a little bit of time with someone like that was actually a very, very cool experience. So shout out to that. That obviously was a highlight of the day for me, and I just thought that was really cool. All right, day one at DEMA is done. Pretty fun day for sure. A ton of vendors, a ton of booths. A lot of travel booths, almost too many, like hard to navigate. But cool technology. Overall, good experience. Decked myself out in some NSS CDS swag. Got myself an NSS CDS coffee mug. I know that's gonna make my coffee taste better. Looking forward to day two. It's a lot of walking. Ready to hit some dinner, head back to the hotel. Eight states, 2,000 plus kilometers of clean eating, driving, over 2 days of great nutrition, all thrown out the window because of one place called JoJo's Shake Shack, where their slogan across the front window says, "This is no place for a diet, and critics are not welcome." I had an hour to kill, and I was like, well, hey, that's my kind of place. And I'll tell you what, it was worth every calorie. Even better, I got to finish off a great day hanging out with Mr. Paul Heinrich and his son Joe over a really good dinner. It was great hanging out, sharing stories. Can't wait to do it again. But now it was time to head on back, hit the hotel, and get ready for day two.
Wednesday, November 12th. It's 6 a.m. in the morning. I need coffee. I got a brand new NSS CDS mug, and it needs to be filled. I have to go and find coffee. I'll be back. All right, it's Wednesday, November 12th, 6:48 a.m. in the hotel, and we are headed back to DEMA for day two. But first, I did find coffee, and it's in my new NSS CDS mug, so you know it's got to taste a bit better this morning. Overall, DEMA day one thoughts. I thought it was a good experience. First time doing it, big crowds, lots of positive energy, got to meet a lot of cool folks, a ton of vendors, a ton of different technology from all over the globe. Probably a little bit too many travel vendors for my liking. It was hard to navigate in terms of which ones would I pick if I was actually looking for travel options. Got to hang out at the NSS CDS booth for a bit. Got to buy some gear, some t-shirts, some swag, a coffee mug. So very cool to meet some of those folks. Dry suits, because of course we all know my dry suit experience in terms of some of the others. Still love my Seaskin. But I'll tell you what, the SF Tech dry suit, I spent a bit of time in their booth. It is a custom-made, high-end dry suit. It's not cheap, but boy, it sure looked nice and durable. The material and all of the build and the seams were high quality. It looked really good. Like I said, not cheap, but maybe something I would look at down the road if I had to replace it. Gear deals, did not see a ton of gear deals, so a little disappointed there. Look out for the SS United States, a big ocean liner going to get sank in Destin, Florida in 2026. That is going to be an amazing wreck dive. But overall, fun day, awesome day one, and even better, got to end it with dinner with a buddy and a legend. It was awesome. Stay tuned for day two. All right, Wednesday, day two of DEMA. Almost at the conference. Nice and warm this morning. Not too bad for shorts. Got a 10 a.m. PADI appointment with Mr. Canada PADI Charles DuPont. That should be fun. And then I get to see another dive industry guru, Dr. Doug Ebersol. Should be a fun chat. Let's
get it done.
Well, we had to talk about it at some point, and so here is the most bizarre thing that I saw at DEMA, and it is a product called Trim Drive. Even the slogan had me double take as I passed by the booth, and the slogan is, if you trim dive, then you need trim drive. And I was like, okay, I guess, maybe. And the product, what appears to be, is like a single or a double sort of DPV strapped to the tanks. And it looks like it's controlled by a chest-mounted power unit and then some weird sort of actuator-type cable sensors that are connected to each of the legs. And then, of course, as you bend your legs, it probably changes the thrust on either side of the DPV. But I'm going to read exactly what it is from their website so I don't muck this up. And it says, Trim Drive is the world's first hands-free, intelligent underwater propeller empowering divers to move freely, explore deeply, and experience the ocean like never before. And I've posted a few videos, and I'll put the another picture up here so that we can see. But it looked just very bizarre. Now, I will say the booth, every time I kind of rolled by, was packed. They actually had one of the biggest floor setups in DEMA, and it was really, really well done. The model that you can see from the video, you know, it's like a trimmed out diver with the legs kind of like hydraulically moving into perfect trim. I was like, man, that would be an awesome setup for a peak performance buoyancy course, just to show divers proper trim. But all that to say, honestly, the product looked a little bizarre to me. I mean, it did catch my attention. I never did get a chance to really talk to anyone, but I'll tell you, the booth, the setup, the screens, they're all dressed in nice shirts. It looked top notch, but I'm just not too sure about the product. But hey, all the best, and I wish you guys nothing but success. But just a bit bizarre. It was pretty clear to me on the morning of day 2 that this was not going to be a full day at DEMA for me. Day 1, don't get me wrong, ton of fun, good experience, but really, I saw everything that I wanted to see except 2 things. So this morning, I had an appointment with a buddy of mine, Charles DuPont, who is the PADI Regional Manager of Canada, and we decided to take 30 minutes and walk the DEMA floor. Charles, that was a ton of fun. Appreciated all the insight. We got to look at all the different kind of products, and overall, it was just great walking around and catching up. And last but not least was the Dive Talk booth and the Dive Talk Go CCR. Now, of course, I've been following Dive Talk online, watching the videos, watching the Dive Talk Go progression, and so it was pretty cool to visit and meet Gus and Woody in person. Appreciated the time that you guys gave me. Occam, I wanted to really shout out to you as well from Inner Sea Explorers. You took about 20 minutes to really go through the Dive Talk Go and also share some really cool insights in terms of some of the instructional type stuff you're doing in the EU. So much appreciated. And Dr. Doug Ebersol, it was a pleasure catching up with you again. And thanks for taking the time to review the Dive Talk Go CCR as well as the diver and instructor certification process. Much appreciated. Overall, I had a great experience at the Dive Talk booth. It was great to see it so busy, and congrats on your success. Overall thoughts on the Dive Talk Go MCCR. Small, lightweight, compact, easy to travel with. Scrubber time, normal ring somewhere between 2 and 3 hours. Extended ring somewhere in the 3 to 5 hour mark, of course, pending conditions. It's a slim chest mount rebreather. Not my style of preference, but it's certainly going to compete in that space. I know there's a lot of online discussions right now in terms of what makes a CCR technical versus recreational. I'm really not of that mindset. I think a CCR is a CCR. Then it just comes down to the dive profile, if there's a decompression obligation, and of course, the experience of the diver. Now, would I personally, as an instructor, be comfortable taking a recreational diver into the CCR space without any other technical training or experience? And my preference would be no, I would not be. But that's, again, simply my preference. But overall, I was glad to sort of get the overview of the Dive Talk Go. And of course, I'm sure it'll be successful.
It might have been just me, but I think one day at DEMA might have been enough. Day 2, it's kind of like the same. I didn't really have a ton of interest in all of the travel areas, so I probably saved time there. But honestly, day 1 was fun. Day 2, I could have probably done without.
We are finally at the end of our DEMA video. And I'm going to answer the question that I posed in the beginning of this video. And it is, would I go back to DEMA? And the answer is probably not. Number one, it was at least 3 to 4 days of a detour from my cave diving trip. And that's 3 or 4 days that I could have been diving. Number two is, while one day was fun, I didn't really feel like I got enough value to actually return. Number three, DEMA felt pretty small. Yes, there were tons of vendors, but boy, there were a lot of travel booths taking up a lot of floor space. So overall, next time, it's probably a pass for me. But hey, if you made it this far to this video, I wanted to say thank you for watching. It's been a ton of fun making it. It's a lot of work. But if you enjoyed it, please take a moment, hit the subscribe, hit the like button. It would be much appreciated. Practice hard, dive safe.
Wednesday, November 12th, 1 p.m. I got here at 10, left at 1. DEMA is now done. There is only so much walking around the booths that I can do. It's all diving related, but there's no diving. So it's time to pack up the truck. Orlando is done, and we head up to cave country. Joerg the Beast Hess, we're coming for you. Let's do it. We spent 2 hours. 2 hours. We didn't spend 2 hours. We spent 2 days.
And I'm looking, where am I looking? I'm so close right there. Try it again. I mean, come on. Instructor tactics. Come on. We're almost there. If we could just get there, we're done. We're almost there, man. We're almost at the finish line of our DEMA video.